Hello and welcome to the Curator selection for the Steam Summer Sales 2016. And this will be my personal recommendations for some of the games that are currently on sale. And how I selected the games for the list is because, well, personally I like them a lot. And then they had a pretty good sales. A couple of them don't have that huge percentage, but I thought it was a really good value for what they are. And those games also don't usually get that huge sales, so we'll get to those when we get to those. Also, I didn't include some of the huge, big AA games that have pretty good sales at the moment because, well, those are very easy for you to find for yourself. But also, I wanted to include a couple smaller games that might have fallen into some cracks and you didn't see them get first released, or you don't even know that they exist. So that's why I did those. But anyways, let's get going. So, firstly here we have the Banner Saga by Stoic Studios and published by Versus Evil, with pretty good 75% sale on it. They also released the Banner Saga 2 today, this year, which also is on a smaller discount. And the Banner Saga is basically a turn-based strategy game with a really awesome kind of Nordic mythology storyline, and it's really creeping, and which just gets even better in the second game. There's also a third game coming up, so it's a continuous story from the game to another, and you can also import your saves between the games, which is an awesome feature always when game series allows you to do that, where your choices matter, and you can import your saves between the games. There is definitely a few low points in the game as well. The combat strategy is actually pretty good, but it's also on some parts pretty bad. Especially like unit variety, the enemy variety is kind of not where it should be, which they do mend in the second game, and they make it much better. A lot more enemies, a lot of different enemies, and all of that. But at this price, I highly recommend checking out the Banner Saga. And let's go to the next game. So, next we have The Invisible Ink by Clay Entertainment. And it's another turn-based strategy. There will be a lot of those in this list. And I highly recommend the bundle that comes with the DLC, because it enhances the game a lot. The base game itself is also already pretty damn awesome, but also it is very, very nice to have the DLC. Pretty much with every game. You or me, I want the complete experience with all the DLC. But if you are feeling a bit suspicious or wondering if you will like the game enough, then maybe just get the base game first. But it's usually much cheaper, especially during big sales like this, to get the bundle. So what this game is about, it's kind of, well, as it says, tactical espionage. So you run a group of agents that basically infiltrate buildings, and you level them up, you get upgrades for them, you get augments, weapons, and all kinds of things that help you with your objectives. And it's all randomly generated, so each playthrough will be different. You select two of the starting agents, and then you can find more agents later on from missions, and all the missions are randomly generated. So it's really lot of worth for a really small money, and it's really awesome. And it gets really difficult on higher difficulties and all that. So I highly recommend, highly recommend Invisible Ink. Next we have the Dungeon of Endless by Amplitude Studios, and I was kind of not sure if I want to include this or not, because this is mainly for builder strategy and management games, as the Curator group is also. Dungeon of Endless is kind of hard to say if it's a strategy game or what this is. But also it's kind of same as the Invisible Ink, that it's all randomly generated levels. You choose your starting composition, and then you find more on the way. So it's very similar in that, but it's more kind of like a tower defensive real-time strategy, opposed to turn-based strategy of the Invisible Ink. And it's tied into the Amplitude Studios as a endless world They have the Endless Space, Endless Legend, and Dungeon of the Endless currently, and they're coming out with the Endless Space 2 soon as well. But anyways, highly recommend this one as well. And let's get to the Endless Space, which is the next one. So the Emperor Edition of the Endless Space, which comes with the DLC, which is really highly recommended. Don't get the base game, get the Emperor Edition with the expansion. You're not gonna regret that. And well, the Dungeon of the Endless was a strategy game, real-time strategy game, kind of roguelike, tower defensive deal with heroes. Endless Space, on the other hand, is 4X in space. So you build your space empire, do some space battles. It looks amazing. It's a very beautiful game. One low point is the combat. Personally, I don't like the combat system that much, as it's a bit rock paper scissors with preparation beforehand against the enemies, and you don't directly control your ships that much at all. And I like having a more direct control in my space battles. But as an empire management game, it's amazing. It's really well done. There's also some really amazing mods for the Endless Space, which most do require the expansion, so that's also a really good point of getting the expansion. And they are also very highly recommended, especially the ones that add more variety into the galaxy. But at this price, at 80% off, it's very good. Let's get to the next one, which is Legend of Grimrock by... Who is this by? This is by Almost Human Ltd, the Finnish developers. So from my own home country. And on this one, the Legend of Grimrock 1 is currently on sale at 80%. And the bundle is at 70%, but I recommend getting both on the bundle, the 1 and 2. The first one is really awesome. It's a really huge homage to these dungeon crawler games of the old times, Eye of the Beholders and Dungeon Masters and all of those. So if you like those back in the day, this is the new coming of those games, and it's really fun. I thought it was gonna be kind of frustrating and challenging and stuff like that, but it wasn't at all. It's actually really fun going around and trying to find your way through the dungeon, doing things. And the second game just takes it to the totally new level. And I think there might be a third coming out at some point as well. But minus 70% and $8.99 is a really good price for the bundle. Also, if you get the Legend of Grimrock 2 by its own, it's $39. So for 60 cents, you get the first game as well. So do yourself a favor and get both. And let's go from a strategy and dungeon crawling RPGs into a bit more builder kind of stuff. So City Skylines is one of my favorite games in recent times. It's a sandbox city builder game, as you know probably, and it really rode the hate of SimCity 2013 and became the city builder in a lot of people's hearts at the moment, mine included. Although it does I added there as a genre that it's sandbox city building, because it's very sandboxy, and there's not really huge challenges. But if you want to make beautiful cities just the way you want, without having to worry about a lot of how to make your city survive this disaster or something, although disasters and stuff like that would be awesome addition to the game, this is definitely the one to get. I've been having a ton of fun with this city building game. Also, the DLCs, the After Dark and Snowfall, are currently on sale as well, although not at that high. The After Dark, which is the older one, is 50%, and Snowfall at 25% off. And you don't really need those to play the game, although they do add some really nice things. So definitely take a look at that as well. And the game was of course made by Colossal Order, the Finnish developer, so go us Finns. And it was published by Paradox Interactive. And next we have the Shadowrun. I used to be a huge fan of Shadowrun, the RPG back in the day. Somehow combining cyberpunk with the fantasy elements is just amazing, and it's good to see that the Shadowrun still lives on very well as an RPG and as a PC game as well. So Shadowrun Dragonfall is basically the second game made by Hairbrain Schemes. Yeah, there we go. And the first one was the Shadowrun Returns, and then they have a third one at the moment, the Hong Kong as well, Shadowrun Hong Kong, which both are very highly recommended as well. There's a bundle with all three of these games, but if you are gonna pick one, I would highly recommend starting with Dragonfall, which I think is the best out of the three, then maybe the Hong Kong, and then Returns. Actually, Hong Kong and Dragonfall are really close to each other. How good they are, and they are really damn good. The Returns is kind of their first go at the game type, and thus it's a bit less refined, and the combat is also better in the later games. But definitely pick up the Returns and Hong Kong as well if you're interested in Shadowrun. And Dragonfall at this price is basically free. One of the best RPGs on PC, in my opinion. Even though I wish there was a bit more like voice acting and stuff like that, because it's a lot of reading. But that's what you are used to with a lot of these older style RPGs. Highly recommended. And let's get back to the city building aspect of the gaming. So Tropico V. A lot of people didn't like Tropico V when it released. A lot of people like the 4 more, which currently is on sale as well. I recommend highly playing both of these games. 4 is a bit more traditional type, but I like the mechanics and story of the 5 more. It did streamline things and make some things easier than compared to the 4. But on the other hand, it's also made some things a lot better. And who doesn't want to be El Presidente with Penultimo, telling some really fun but stupid jokes. Also, the price is pretty good this time around, so highly recommended. Sadly, the DLC for both 4 and 5 are not the greatest, and I would probably skip those unless you're really into Tropico. They're a bit expensive for what they are, plus they don't add that much to the game in my opinion. Just get the base games and have a lot of fun with those. And let's go back to a bit more building. So Prison Architect is finally released out of early access, and it's so good. Personally, I played this since the first version was available for the public, and played basically pretty much every version, every update till the release and after as well. And it got all the time better and better and better, and it's really good. And it's also a lot different than most kind of building management games these days. It has definitely some unique touch, and definitely touches a bit touchy subject of prisons, but in a very non-political or anything in a way. So you can have just a bit light-hearted fun with prisoning people. And it's kind of hard to decide if it's building or a management game. I would say it's kind of on the colony management game style, same as like a Nemoria, Dwarf Fortress, Rimworld, all of these games. I would more lump this in that same genre, more than just building games. But anyways, I highly recommend checking out Prison Architect. And then go back to the strategy gaming. So the XCOM Enemy Unknown complete pack. I'm a huge XCOM fan. XCOM is one of my favorite game series of all time. from my childhood and into the adulthood as well. I've definitely stopped liking some games, but XCOMs are very, very close to my heart. And at this price, I highly recommend getting the full Enemy Unknown complete pack, minus 80%. You get all the DLC, the expansion, and all that. I don't recommend getting the base game, because the DLC separately is a bit expensive, and it's much better to just grab all of that in one go, as it adds and enhances the game a lot. There is also the bundle with XCOM Enemy Unknown and the Burrow XCOM Declassified. Do not get that one, because that one does not come with the DLC. You want the complete pack for this one, and then maybe consider getting the Burrow separately. A lot of people didn't like the Burrow, because well, it's not exactly a XCOM game. It has the XCOM-like story, but it plays out more like say Mass Effect than a pure turn-based strategy game of XCOM. But I did like it. It was not the greatest game, I have to say, but for pennies, what it costs on a sale, it was a pretty good pickup. The story is really interesting. The combat is, if you like Mass Effect style combat, it's pretty good, but it does get a bit repetitive after a while. I highly recommend still checking that out. Also, if you already have played XCOM Enemy Unknown and you're wanting a bit more, there's the XCOM 2, of course, which didn't get as much sale this time around, but I highly recommend trying that as well. And another one to consider is Xenonauts, if you are looking for a bit of a older style XCOM, but not the actual old XCOMs. So definitely check out that as well. And this is of course made by Firaxis Games and published by 2K Games. And talking about the old XCOMs, if you like strategy games, why don't you own this already? So go and buy it. It's practically free as well at 80% off. $3, €3, and you'll thank me. A good point about this is that there is Open XCOM available as well, which uses the original assets and music and everything from the original XCOM and Terror from the Deep, but allows you to play them on modern PCs with enhanced features plus modding. So maybe as a complete pack itself, I don't recommend this, but if you are looking to play these games again with the Open XCOM, I highly do recommend picking this up. And then we go to a bit different direction. So this is Kingdom, and it's a survival strategy with amazing pixel art, as you can see already from the image there. And you run a kingdom, and it's a bit tower defensy. So basically you go only from left and right, as you can see in the image. You're the king or queen on the horse, and you hire people to defend your buildings and build towers, and then there is nighttime attacks into that. It's kind of difficult to explain, but it is kind of survival strategy builder, and I was just blown away when I saw this game. Or actually, when I first tried it, I was kind of wondering how does this game play out when I saw it first time. Like, how does this actually work? But when I actually did get to play it, it was amazing. It was made by Noyo and Licorice and published by Raw Fury, which are also coming out with a expansion for the Kingdom soonish. So definitely worth picking this game now and then getting the expansion as well when it comes out. And then some more strategy for us. So Valkyria Chronicles by Saga, both developed and published. And this definitely was a very surprising game for me as well. I didn't expect to like this as much as I did. So it's basically kind of this anime style, but very beautifully drawn. As you see from the picture, that is pretty much the graphics style in the game all the time. It's this like a pencil drawn, kind of watercolored look for the game. And a lot of people overlook this game because, well, it's anime style in the looks, but it's not really that much. The story is not the strong point though. It is definitely be the anime as well. But it's really fun, like alternative history war, and the strategy layer of the game is very interesting because you basically do have turn-based combat, but you control one unit at a time. You have several command points each turn, and then you move the unit basically in real time, and enemies shoot you at you real time, and then you aim at them like almost like an FPS game, which is kind of interesting, and it was surprisingly fun game. I highly recommend this at this price. If you like strategy games, do yourself a favor and pick this up. Absolutely. And then something totally different. I wasn't sure whether to include this one as well or not to the selection, but I've had a lot of fun with this recently. My old PC couldn't run this for the longest time, but I've been wanting to try the game for many months, and I finally upgraded my PC some time ago and got to play the Subnautica finally. And holy moly, is it a fun game. So what the game is about, basically, it's a survival game with a really awesome building aspect. So you can build your submarines, your underwater bases or overwater bases on land, and you play it in like a first-person kind of shooter viewpoint. Although this game doesn't feature basically any lethal weapons, so it's a kind of like a fresh breath of air that you don't have underwater minigun where you just mow down all the fish. So you actually have to run away and try to kind of sneak around or get eaten by Reaper Leviathans. But definitely pick it up. It's very beautiful game, like amazingly beautiful. And it also supports the VR, which I'm not gonna ever try because I get scared shitless by this game already because of the dark, deep waters somehow. Just draw this primal fear out of me, and then something jumps at my face and I scream. And doing that in VR would probably give me a heart attack. But the building aspect of the game is just amazingly, phenomenally good. It's just so well done and so well fitting for this kind of game. It's still in early access, thus the price is only 40%, and I hope there's gonna be a lot of additions. Currently, the story content of the game is kind of missing. There's a bit of a lore here and there, but that's one of the big points that are still missing from the game and are gonna be added later on. But even in the early access state at this price, I definitely think it's a worthy game to play. I've sank so many hours already into it, and I feel like playing a lot more, especially when the next updates come out. Also, the game doesn't seem to get that huge sales often, as I've been wanting to buy the game myself as well for the longest time, but waiting for a nice sale. And this 40% off is one of the biggest sales I've seen so far for the game. So get it now while it's discounted. And next, we go for a bit different city building game. So this is Concrete Jungle, which advertises itself as a city building guard game, and it is pretty much that. But it's not really a city building. It's really more like a card game, a point scoring game where you place different buildings to score enough points for each row to progress the game. And it features a really cool campaign with some interesting voice acting and dialogue. And I was surprised how much I like this game as well. I mean, I like city building games, I like card games, and the combination of two is really good. Even though I wish the city building side was a bit more city building and not just this kind of card game. And also, this game has really amazing art style. I like the isometric city building style. I wish there was some new modern city building game with this kind of graphics, because it's amazingly beautiful. But definitely worth a look as well, especially at the 50% off price. You'll not regret. And then again, we move to a totally different game. This is the Renowned Explorers International Society by the Abbey Games, who made stuff like Reus as well, which was awesome kind of god game. But this one is, well, it's exploration turn-based strategy basically. You go around the world finding treasures, collecting renown to become the most renowned explorer in the world. And the combat is a bit like XCOM, but not exactly like XCOM. It's turn-based grids. And instead of doing damage and killing your opponents, you try to affect their emotions. So you make them happy, you make them sad, you make them scared of you, terrified, and they just run away because they don't want to fight with you anymore. Although there is also attack option. But the point of the combat system is that there's 3 different types of attacks: aggressive, devious, and friendly attacks. And you play with those emotions to deal with the situations and combats, and it's really awesome. They also recently came out with an expansion for the game, which is not on a that huge sale at the moment, but also highly recommended addition to the game. Makes the ton better. And it's also a bit, it's not totally randomly generated, but each location well, is basically the same all the time. There's like same goal, and usually the same themes what are in there, and same treasures and stuff like that you find, but they are kind of randomly placed, so each playthrough is a tad bit different. Also, there's a huge selection of different explorers you can play with, and also unlockables, so it's really fun to play. And also, why not get a game where you can seduce sheeps to progress your renown? But definitely worth a look. I was really sold on this game when it was first released, and I've been playing a lot of the game, and the expansion just makes it a tad better. And nextly, we have the Big Pharma, which is made by Twice Circled and published by Positech Games, and it's currently at 50% off. So not a, well, it is pretty good sale already at €5.99 for example. It's really good. And what you do in Big Pharma is you basically manage a pharmacy company, and you make different kind of pills and drugs for different ailments that you have to market and sell to people. And the game also came out, or the developer came out with an expansion recently called Marketing and Malpractice, which improves the marketing, and well, you can do some malpractice, kind of dirty industry deeds, which improves the game a lot. I highly recommend the expansion for this as well. And it's kind of puzzly in the nature, how you have to build your factories and make your production lines. But it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend this one as well. And then we go to a bit of survival. Don't Starve is probably a game a lot of people already have and own and know. But what Don't Starve is, it's basically this survival game where you gather materials and build your base and do your things and survive different seasons and different big monsters and all kinds of fun stuff. It's a really cool game. The art style is amazing. Some of these indie games just blow you away with the art style they have. As you can see from the picture there, that's a really good indication of the art style of the game, and it's pretty much that. And there's this Don't Starve Alone pack, which comes with the base game, the Reign of Giants, which is an expansion for the base game, and Shipwrecked, which is the newest DLC for the game, which puts you into a different world instead of kind of this foresty, nightmarish world. You're in this more like a Caribbean ocean island world, and it's a lot of fun as well. And this is also made by Clay Entertainment, who seem to be making some really amazing games like the Invisible Ink and this. They have a knack for awesome games. They're also coming out with Oxygen Not Included sometime later, which is a colony simulation, and it looks amazing. But definitely pick up Don't Starve. It's a bit difficult game, but it's also really fun once you get into it. Also, if you want to play with a friend or friends, this pack doesn't include it, but there is a Don't Starve Together, which allows you to basically play the same game but together, except not the Shipwrecked. But I'm sure a Shipwrecked will probably come to Don't Starve Together one of these days as well. But definitely worth checking out. Also, if you're kind of on the fence on this one, get at least the base Don't Starve. It's basically free at the moment, so maybe try out that first and then consider if you want to buy the rest for this game. But anyways, let's go onwards. So Stardew Valley was a game I've been wanting and waiting for years and years and years. So if you don't know Stardew Valley, you probably haven't been on the internet in the last year or so. But what Stardew Valley is it's basically Harvest Moon if you've played Harvest Moon games, but on PC, and uses the old nice pixel art style and takes elements from Harvest Moon, the Rune Factory, and a lot of the similar type of games, and makes it a bit of its own. And it's only on 20% sale at the moment, but the base price of the game is already basically a steal, and at 20% it's even better. And I don't expect the game to go on a huge sale anytime soon. Not next year or something at least, because they're coming out with more content. The multiplayer, it's currently only single player, but there's gonna be a 4-player co-op mode later on, and because of that, I don't think the price will go down more than it is at the moment. It's already, the base price is so low that you don't want to go lower. So definitely worth a pick if you haven't already gotten this. And next we have the Hard West. And Hard West is it's kind of tough sell because it's a very story heavy kind of XCOM style combat system, but it's also kind of not continuous, and it's episodic. And I was a bit worried when I played first myself, especially the first chapter. Felt a bit lackluster, but it really picks up after that first chapter. And you basically have this main character you start with, who you can see on the bottom there, peeking with his demonic eyes there. And you follow his story, his family story from the beginning, and it branches off into these side stories as you play the game, which kind of give backstory, what happened before, what happened to your family, and then what happened to these other people in the storyline. And it's a surprisingly fun way to play the game. I mean, I really wanted my thirst for XCOM games is endless, and I wanted a Wild West XCOM game, and this is what I was like hoping it to be, with a continuous story and kind of base building and stuff like that. But it doesn't really have that. It's more very story heavy with just a bit of a XCOM style gameplay thrown in there. But what is cool about the game is that while the combat system is not the greatest and most in depth, it's actually really fun, and I didn't feel bored with it at any point. And it has a really good mix of like story and combat all the time. And what I found was really awesome is that even though the chapters are basically kind of same, there is always in each chapter this kind of special mechanic that you need to deal with that is different from each chapter. Like in one chapter, there is this you have to basically kill and do damage around the Wild West to get this one guy's notice at you. So you just have to go around killing people and doing stuff. Sometimes it might be supplies. You have a certain supply amount you need to worry about. Sometimes it's this kind of disease you have and your party has that you have to treat or you'll die basically. So there's always this kind of differing mechanic you have to deal with, and it's really fun, and makes every chapter basically a bit different in that way, and always kind of brings a new fresh gameplay to deal with on every time. It works surprisingly well, and it was made by Creative Games and published by Ambitious Digital Entertainment. And let's get to another kind of polarizing game. So Anno 2070 Complete Edition. Anno is a city building with a very interesting strategy element into it, which is not the combat, which is the low point of the game. Anno games always have featured city building with a bit of combat, and the combat portion of the game has always been really bad. But what is amazing about these games is that they look just utterly beautiful. Anno 2070 is still one of the best looking city building games ever made. But also the strategy element is that there's these production chains of buildings you have to make. So basically how you level up your cities is that your population requires certain goods to level up to a next level, and then there's a next level goods and next level population, and you have to keep adding and adding production chains to produce those goods to keep your population on those levels and to improve the levels. And they get complex and complex extensively towards the end. And it's really fun to have to run these different production buildings, then I have to ship them around to get the materials in the right place, and then make something better from those, ship them again somewhere else, make something better out of those, and then finally get them to your city and make the city grow. And once the city grow, it unlocks you more buildings and stuff like that. It's a really awesome way how it is done. And I wish stuff like the games like City Skylines would take a page out of this game with their production buildings to make it a bit more interesting and more challenging. But a lot of people didn't like 2070 because they were fans of the older games, 1404 especially, which also is currently on the sale, so highly recommended to pick that one up. Also, when you are buying Anno games, get the complete edition for the 2070 and get the, I think it's gold back for the 1404, because you want the DLCs, and you don't want to buy the DLCs separately because it's a lot more expensive doing it that way. But definitely check this out as well. And this was made by the legendary Blue Byte, who made Settlers games, which are really one of my favorite games from my childhood as well, especially Settlers 2, and also published by Ubisoft. And that's one of the reasons people didn't like this, because of Uplay. I don't think Uplay is that bad, but some people like stuff, some people don't. But definitely awesome city building game, which I recommend checking out. So that's basically my main recommendations from the sale. And we also have this list here. So the games I showed you were mostly for the Curator group, so the building management strategy games with a bit of RPG and survival thrown in as well. But here I have a bit bigger recommendation list of different games that I personally liked a lot, and I highly recommend checking out them. So if you like same kind of games as I do, these are probably interesting for you as well. Terraria, of course, a lot of people already own this, but if you don't have Terraria, please do get it and play it. Faster Than Light, one of the best games to come out from Kickstarter. Convoy is also another very FTL-like game, but in a post-apocalyptic kind of Mad Max style, which is awesome as well. Then there's Banished, the one-man wonder city building survival game, highly recommended as well. Dawn of War, I'm a huge fan of Warhammer 40k, and Dawn of War 2 was in my opinion, the best one out of the series, and they're coming out with Dawn of War 3. So pick up the 2 and get into the series and get into the 3 when it comes out. Then there's a Resetter, which was a surprisingly fun game as well. You run a shop in a JRPG, Japanese RPG world, where you have to go around in a dungeon to get some loot to sell in your shop, and you can order as well, all kinds of stuff. And it's a really surprisingly fun game. I highly recommend trying out Resetter. Then we have a Space Run, which is kind of tower defensive game where you have to run through missions where they attack you and deliver your goods. Definitely worth checking out that price as well. Then we have Battle Block Theater, where you it's basically a platforming game, but the humor and how the game is done is really awesome. Highly recommend that at price as well. Then there's Dust, an Illusion Tale, which is a kind of Metroidvania style game. So you go around exploring these dungeons and progress by gaining new powers, and which unlocks new areas for you to explore, and it's really fun. So Waldy's story is very much the same as well, and buy it for the same reasons. Then you have Risk of Rain, which is one of these roguelike games where every playthrough is basically different, and you basically start with specific heroes, and then you find random upgrades, and you make your builds and try to progress through the game, and it's really awesome. And Rogue Legacy is pretty much the same, but in a fantasy setting. Also, Rogue Legacy features this really awesome inheritance feature that every time you die, the next guy is your descendant, and you choose from different ones, and they are randomized as well. So it's really cool. But anyways, that's my recommendations. You can also see my contact information up there, my Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. So if you like what I do, check out those definitely. But anyways, thank you for watching this recommendation video, and I'll see you guys next time. So bye bye.